Our third speaker in this session is Gerard Bardell from New Farm Australia. He was going to be introduced by Lockie McKinnon, but in the interest of efficiency, and Gerard tells me Lockie's not a good speaker anyway, we've short-circuited that. So Gerard will give us a perspective from an input supplier and manufacturer's position. Thanks, Gerard.
Now, that's not true, boss. You know that. Once again, Mick, thanks for the opportunity, and again, it really is true testament to the topic that you've organised such a conference, and that the number of people that have invested some of their time here today and tomorrow. Just a few colleagues of mine are here today as well. So we've got Lockie McKinnon, who's the Group General Manager for Australia and New Zealand. So thanks, Lock. We've got Ben Winter, who's basically in a new role for us at New Farm in what we call Future Farming Lead. So very much playing to this space. So Ben, and Aaron Edmonds, who is what we again a relatively new role as large corporate producer. So liaising with I guess the top end of town and talking to those guys about what they're up to and what's happening there as well. Okay, so key drivers in agriculture today, and David, you've already put this slide up, but I really like it, and it's a Riddick slide. But it really does capture, I guess, some of the sentiment that's out in the marketplace at the moment. To me, we all know the story about the hungrier world. Okay, so what's happening there, of course, is that there's more and more people out and about, and they're actually getting wealthier as well. We're seeing more and more people moving to cities, and for the first time in the last sort of 4 to 5 years, depends on who you listen to, there are now actually more people living in cities and relying on someone else to provide them food than there are in rural environments where they either grew the food themselves or relied on family members to supply it to them. So that's been a big change in dynamic. As they become wealthier, they become more choosier. Okay, we start looking at straight proteins, so rice and just straight grains and whatnot, and moving into more complex proteins such as meats and etc. etc. It's going to be a bumpier ride. So I think Tim sort of highlighted some of that as well. That we've got some challenges there with the inputs. We've got some challenges with the outputs, the climatics, and at the end of the day, the financials as well. Managing currencies and the like. So we need to hang on to that, and certainly these transformative technologies, and that's part of it as well. So, coupled with the Internet of Things and big data, what is driving change and the face of agriculture? And I guess how do we stay relevant? How do we as New Farm stay relevant? And what does it mean for New Farm? So these people are getting a fair acknowledgement today. Digital disruption or distraction. Is it disruption or distraction? True disruption is when it changes the way we live and behave. Not since Apple in the last decade has there been true disruption in the marketplace. Digital innovation is what is leading the way. So true innovation is enabling the end user to go about their business smarter, faster, and improving their return on effort. And for us in agriculture, something for me that's been, I guess, true disruption, and we've spoken a little bit about it today, is the advent of GPS steering. And it's not just the advent of GPS steering, it's the RTK technology that's been coupled with it that has now changed the way people can actually go about their farming systems. So they can pretty much go within sub 2 centimetres of where they were from last year's crop and basically start in-row sowing using trellis type agronomics, and have a controlled traffic type system. So that's what we're starting to see happen in the marketplace. It's well and truly down the track. I think Phil's made this point pretty well. Smartphones, we've all got them now. Okay. And more tablets we're seeing out in the marketplace as well. So growers are out there in their machinery, not just looking at their phones, but also looking at tablets and whatnot as well. So we become much more connected as a result, and it can change our behaviours. So globally, delivering a product or service is far more complex than even a few years ago. This has happened really quickly. It's attributable mainly to a significant increase in the number of participants in the global supply chain and the increased product complexity from rising customer expectations. So new digital technologies have lowered the barrier to entry with several industries and new startups which are fast changing how value is created and distributed by all participants of an ecosystem. I do get my shoes dirty every now and then. I got snapped at an opportune moment. But advances in digital technology have also been responsible for the explosion of online and social media, and we've just spoken about that as well. The younger generations are device dependent, and I thought, Phil really covered that up nicely, expecting information on demand in real time. And it's this demand for information and content which has transcended the sectors into the business world, and our industry is no exception. And perhaps albeit a little bit later than other industries, and I thought Roz covered that off this morning very well. But the use of too much technology can become confusing and a distraction, okay? So knowing how to use the tools, not to make the decision, but how to support and help. So, farming in the digital age, what has it delivered in Australia? And we're talking about the different revolutions, the different generations. I was lucky enough to be involved in a conversation last year. So we're on the family farm at Horsham in Victoria's Wimmera. And the old man's, he's getting on a little bit, but both him and his brother sat down and started reminiscing about the old days. And they basically grew up on a soldier settlement block in the Victorian Mallee. So this guy started talking about, my father started talking about the fact that when they got home from school on their horse, one of their jobs after a day at school was actually grabbing the horses from the field, washing them down and feeding them. So this guy is still alive today, right? And we saw that picture that Tim put up earlier. That would have been my father. The same guy is now, he's got 450 horses underneath him when he's in the paddock, and he's using these things from the sky to help him in his modern farming system. So, there's a reason why the rear vision mirror is smaller than the front window, but it is important to understand that these things are happening. They've happened within our generation, and with what we see with the digital transformation coming up, it's going to happen very quickly as well. So the big data space is the end game. How do we play here as New Farm and along the way, and where might we add value? And there's been a lot of discussion about that today. So how do we use this now and also into the future? So it is happening pretty quickly. There are a number of significant technological advances that have hit the agricultural sector over time, and these have been covered as well. So yield mapping, variable rate technology, spot spraying systems, GPS systems, self-steer. Amongst a multitude of various other digital innovations, it is now part of the landscape we're in, from irrigation scheduling, agronomic recommendations, weather, so Tim covered that off as well, record keeping, plant nutrition, general news, the market pricing with the commodities that primary producers are dealing with day in, day out, product inputs, machinery monitoring, plant health, etc., etc. The list really does go on. So the bigger question is, how do we determine where and how to play? Importantly, what are the needs of growers and advisors, and how can we, as New Farm, effectively use these innovations in digital technology to assist them in improving their operations? So through today's connectivity and technologies, provide some terrific opportunities, not just now but for the future. So what does it mean for New Farm? Distinguishing between what is out there and how you participate to bring relevance and credibility to your cause. We have challenged ourselves to ensure that digital is part of every step in our ecosystem. From product development, how do we engage in digital? Sales and marketing, how do we enable a better experience for our growers, agronomists and distribution? Communications, how do we create and develop communities as well as enable real-time communication? And stewardship, really important. What digital programs have we designed and developed to assist both the growers as well as the industry in general? And regulatory, how do we further extend stewardship with ongoing digital support? Grower engagement, decision support tools and sensors, and understanding the markets and data, building new positions and products through analytics. And this is all done through our supply chain and channel partners, making sure that we can communicate with them and provide relevant, up-to-date and quality market information. So this will invariably result in large amounts of data. It's important to understand up front how this data can be used to help drive efficiency, improve the service we offer or reduce costs. Data management, data governance, storage and quality are all worthy considerations. In-house analytics will be applied so we can improve decision making, operational efficiency and the customer experience. So building value for growers and advisors, because at the end of the day, it's all about the grower. And within the grower and their agronomist space, there are still choices to be made, and we have had to make clear decisions along the way. You know, we can't be everything to everyone with who we are and what we do. So we're not trying to solve the whole farm management jigsaw puzzle. We're very focused with how we engage. We realise our core competencies and focusing our time, resources and energy into being the best in our category, with the grower as the guide and not just navel-gazing. We know that at our core is to help growers make better decisions around herbicide resistance management, water management, resistance management, as well as water quality. We've developed a number of products over the journey to help with those decisions. Importantly, understanding where we do want to play is critical, but equally as important is being clear on what we don't want to be. And that is everything to everyone, developing technology for technology's sake, and all about marketing hype and smokes and mirrors. Not interested. So we're really challenging ourselves to be authentic. So how do we do that? Basically, we've spent a lot of time really putting ourselves in the grower's shoes, okay? So we've commissioned our own research, as well as drawing on other industry bodies to understand the key issues and pain points for growers. So what we've learnt is that information and education is key to helping farmers make better decisions. I think that's been covered off pretty well today so far. We know that growers are already very technology savvy, and I think that's a little bit of a misconception out in the marketplace, but ag growers, if they see a benefit, are rapid adopters of some of this new technology, and they'll use that in their decision-making and monitoring processes, and that's only set to increase. The research has also told us that whilst there is a lot of data generated on GPS and other technology, the data is very poorly used, and I think that's also been covered off as well. There's a lot of information out there, and I think Tim covered that pretty well. This has already had some impact on our go-to-market strategy with products such as our SprayWise manual, which was released back in 2009, and our online SprayWise decisions portal for weather information. So making sure that they become relevant and in today's marketplace. We need to talk about the push notifications and how we want to engage growers beyond the platform itself. So it's not just an information portal. And it's about recognising market evolution as well. So today's modern farming systems, and we've pinched this one from the GRDC, thanks Tom, but recognising market evolution. So in today's modern farming systems, there's a strong reliance on pesticides, okay, herbicides, insecticides, fungicides. Mechanical has somewhat gone by the wayside, okay, we've got very fragile soils as we know here in the Australian environment, so we're really trying to maintain as much stubble as we can and minimise our cultivation. And culturally, there's not a lot of options out there at this current point in time. But I think what will happen with the future, and we're already on that path, and you know we've seen some pretty interesting information from Salah this morning, is that our pesticides will still remain an important part of the farming solution, but what will become more important is the mechanical piece will start coming back into the equation, but it's going to be a more targeted approach to mechanisation. And cultural systems, we'll see varieties that will actually be bred to start competing with weeds early on, so that hybrid type variety that has that early vigour will be really, really important. Okay? And I guess as a business, New Farm are aligning ourselves. We've certainly got a presence in the pesticide piece. We've got 2 brands in the marketplace at the moment, as obviously New Farm, but also Crop Care in the Australian marketplace. The mechanical piece, we've got a brand in the marketplace called Croplands, and they're certainly talking to a lot of suppliers at the moment, and there's some very interesting autonomous options starting to come through. And culturally, another brand that we have in the marketplace is New Seed, okay, and their focus is 3 core crops, sorghum, sunflowers, and also canola. So making sure that we can work with all 4 to achieve the right result. And just having a look at some of these digital application technologies. So this is looking at some of the information that, one of the products that Croplands currently positioned in the marketplace called Weed It, and this is using infrared technology basically to reflect back chlorophyll and only apply product to wherever there's green material. So it's green on brown type, what we call green on brown type technology. Now, this technology has been around for just about 20 odd years, but we're just starting to see the adoption pick up as we speak. So instead of broadly applying to 100% of the field or the paddock, we're now back to 5 to 30% depending on the weed spectrum. So it's a very targeted approach. And what it does allow us to do is actually start getting new products into these situations. So New Farm have actually just got 5 products registered so that they're now compatible and can go through the actual weed IT system. So this is first generation technology, and what we'll see coming behind this is some of the more green on green technology, some of the work that we saw again from Salo early, looking at how we can actually differentiate weeds within a green type environment. The other thing that's really important is the importance of stewardship. We also understand that we have a role to play in stewardship, which has resulted in our online portals, CottonWise and CanolaWise, and also a partnership model called CottonMap. Our position on stewardship is about compliance and industry awareness, non-target application of chemical, but also awareness of where the non-target crops are, but also about what's coming through, which will be some of these mandatory downwind no spray zones. And that's really important for us as a nation. We're a clean green nation, and the majority of our produce is exported, so we need to maintain that. We want to demonstrate strong industry practices that augment the government regulatory arrangements and support the AgVet code. We also would like to contribute to the development of industry-wide codes of practice that help industry members comply with legislation and promote best practice chemical manufacture, supply and use. So really important. And the importance is not just of stewardship, but it's also with partnership as well, and I think that word's come up a few times today. Key partnerships are very important, and to me, as New Farm, those key industry partnerships are only set to increase, particularly as we start exploring some of these new frontiers. So walking in their shoes, fundamentally we've developed our strategy by putting our ultimate customer, the grower, at the centre of it. And whilst not forgetting our advisor and distribution partners, we've gone about stripping things back to make sense and then building a compelling value proposition to support it. It's all been about making the complex, well, simple at the end of the day. Maintaining alignment with key industry challenges, herbicide resistance management, for example. Our intent is to stay loyal to our business and what we do, marketing versus investing in carefully created solutions for the future, preparedness to continue to invest and support through people development. If we're investing in developing a digital product, it must make economical sense, supporting farm production, and it must add value to growers and their advisors. Fundamentally, the platform development will enable us to tailor messages to the markets we serve, providing regular and reliable information. We realise that the key to successful uptake of any digital product or otherwise is to give our growers and advisors what they have asked for. To this end, we have mapped the delivery model to build an ecosystem of available support tools that will build relevance and hold our audience. It's the balance between creativity and functionality. And what we realise is that everyone wants customisation and easy, simplified access to information, but at the same time, it does need to be relevant to them. So the digital experience, I mentioned earlier about being part of an ecosystem. We know that we're only one link in the chain to enable and help farmers and advisors. The challenge for us is to make sure that we do choose the right path, and we will. We'd like to think we can work with future partners on how we can use technology to make our business more effective, creating an ecosystem that will help growers with better crop protection so that they can also grow better tomorrow. So our growers, through our research, we know that access to telecommunications, which again has been discussed and Phil brought up pretty well at the end, is regarded by many growers as the single biggest challenge in the Australian marketplace. Speed and connectivity. We know that weather has the single biggest impact on growers, which is out of their control, so better predictions are critical. We know that biotech and new advancements in crop development that are more pest resistant and faster growing are also on growers' minds. And the exciting next tier, which we'll start seeing new customer or end user benefits. We also know that RD&E to deliver improvements in production, sustainability and profitability across the Australian grains industry is highly topical for both growers and advisors. And we know that growers are time poor and heavily reliant on industry-based advice as well as the use and advice of their agronomists and consultants. So I think you're safe there, Phil. I don't think we'll be getting rid of the agronomists anytime soon, mate. Understanding this has informed and had an impact on our future strategy and will continue to do so. So the digital experience, what's this image about? It's also about forming strategic partnerships or joint ventures with a number of other key bodies, and that's really high on our agenda. And it'll be done with like-minded type businesses, so that's just a given going forward. And finally, choosing the right path is the key, and we'd like to think we can work with future partners on how we can use technology to make our business more effective. Creating an ecosystem that will help growers with better crop protection so that they can grow a better tomorrow. At the end of the day, anything we produce must add value and be actionable. Collect the right data and provide the best tools and get them with growers and advisors in a timely manner. This will bring success. Above all, we will be keeping things simple. Thanks, Mick.